Hello and welcome. In the last tutorial we got our landed moon, asteroids, moon and special moons set up, and we've got the asteroids and the moons moving around in our space. We've got our rocket sitting on the special moon, following it around and only turning when we use the left and right keys. So now we're going to jump right into making our flying object. So this is where it gets a bit more complicated. So we're going to create an object. Blast. Don't know why it's making itself wider here. It doesn't need to be. There we go. So object underscore flying, and I'm going to change this to sprite flying. And we're going to set the depth, just like the landing one, to -10, so this one sits at the very front of our screen. So now we're going to add an event. What we're going to do, we're going to get this rocket to wrap around just like the asteroids and special moons. So we're going to add event, so when it hits the outside of the room, which is in other, outside room, it's going to wrap around. So we're going to jump, we want this middle one here, wrap, and change the direction to in both directions, so up and down. So when it hits any side of our area, if it hits outside our room, it's going to wrap around, so it goes to the left, it's going to appear on the right, and vice versa. So, there we go. And what we're going to do, we're going to include a change sprite to stop it moving around. So we're going to go to add event. Is it step, end step, and in the main one tab, so if you click on the main one tab here, we have sprite, and we want the first one, so click and drag that in. Looks like a little green Pac-Man. And we're going to set it to self, and we're going to change it to the flying rocket, so it's constantly changing itself. And the sub image will be direction divided by 5. And we're going to set the speed to 0. Now we're going to add the keyboard making the ship turn left and right. So add event, keyboard left. I'm going back to the move tab. We're going to bring in the move free action, and we're going to type in direction +2, and the speed we're going to set to 6. Click OK, and then do sort of the opposite for the right. So keyboard right, bring move free into it, and we're going to set it to direction -2, and the speed for this one is also at 6. Click OK. And next we're going to add a collision event to our flying rocket. So we're going to add event, collision, and this is the asteroid because the asteroid is going to kill us. And we're going to go over to the main one tab, and we want to actually restart the room. So no, it's not in there. Check main 2. Here it is. In the games section we've got this weird sort of recycling symbol. That's to restart the game. So the game will restart after that. And what we're going to do, we're going to add a collision with the moon object. So I'm going to click add event, collision with the moon, and what we're going to do, we're going to change the objects around. So I'm going to go into main 1, and is it this one? Yes, change instance, drag that into there, and what we're going to do, we are going to change it to the landed object, and we're going to leave it, yeah, I'm going to leave that one as it is, so it doesn't need to perform its thing. Go OK. Now we're going to add in another change instance, because when it, not only do we want it when it hits the moon to change the flying object to the landed one, we also want to change the moon that we're on back to the special moon. So I'm just going to quickly, where is it, objects, and we'll bring this into here, these two weird block symbols. And this time we don't want the change to apply to our ship. We don't want the ship to change into the moon. We want the moon that we hit to change to the special one. So this time I'm going to hit other, because what it's doing, we've got the moon object, the ship is going to collide with the moon. Now it's not going to apply to the ship, it's going to apply to the other object involved in that collision, which is the moon. So that's why we put it as other. So we're going to change it to the special moon, and that's all you have to do. And just click OK. And now we can add in the details for our object landed, so that when we press the spacebar it switches it to the flying object. So it's going to click OK for there. Reopen object landed. And just move this around a bit. Space OK. And what we're going to do, we're going to add in our space. So when we click space, we change to the flying one, and also the moon that we're on disappears, because we go on to the new one, we don't want to just replace it with special moons all the time. Plus, the special moon has that extra special elements of that our rocket is going to jump on it when it's on the landed one, and we don't want to have multiple special moons floating around. So, add event, and this one will be key press. It's not where you just press the keyboard button, where you slam it down, because if we had keyboard one, it would just do it again and again and again. This way you just press it, so space, and what we're going to do, we're going to add a move free direction, and we're going to set it, go to chat pin direction, and we're going to set the speed to 6. Now what this does, it looks at the direction that our ship is in at the time, because we're going to be turning it whilst we're settled on a moon, and whichever direction it's pointed in, it's going to go off in that direction. So that's why we put this in there. And we're also going to change the instance, so I'm going to go to main 1, and change the instance like we did before, bring it into here, and it's going to apply to itself. It's going to change it to the flying one, and click OK. And then finally, what we're going to do, we're going to delete the special moon that we're on. So I'm going to bring in the recycle bin, destroy instance, no, be under objects, and this guy here. Now this time I want to tell it to specifically go to the special moon. So instead of other and self, we're going to click on object, and we're going to specify which object by the drop down list here. I'm going to say special moon, and then that's all you have to do, and that should be it. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to remember to save. I'm going to test out my room. So the basics should nicely be in there now. I've got the basic gameplay. At least I hope so, if I done everything right, which I should think I have. So there's a ship. Okay, gonna go that way. Ah, okay. Who's on that moon? Yeah, the moons are. I hit that asteroid. Oh dear, that's why it's restarted. So, yeah. And you see the moons are. I could turn it. Oh, I hit that asteroid dead on. I see, as long as I'm not near the asteroids, I'm safe. Yay! And now I have no moons to save me, so... And you see, I can turn... Be careful when you press spacebar. If you're near an asteroid, you will blow, or it will reset the game. Turning is really difficult with this. Managed to get him, avoid the asteroids. Ah, not so good. So yeah, I'm having too much fun with this already. And believe me, when you test out this game, you will find it rather tricky to play. But as you can see, it's not impossible to play. That's enough of me playing the game, or testing the game. And make sure that everything works in there. So now we're going to add in an explosion. So we're going to create our object. So go to object. Now we're going to use the explosion sprite we created near the beginning. So it's going to be object underscore explosion. There we go, explosion. And now doing the sprite explosion. And we're going to set the depth because we want this to be on top of everything to -10. And what we're going to do, we're going to get this when it's created to play a sound, which is going to be our explosion sound. So I'm going to add event, create, and jumping over to the main one tab, we've got sounds, drag this in, and I want it to play the explosion sound. And remember to leave it on false, otherwise it's going to loop forever and that could get really annoying. So click OK. Now, we're going to leave the object at the moment because what we need to do next, the book tells you to create an end animation event where it shows a score then restarts, but unfortunately because we're using Game Maker Studio they got rid of the show high score function, so we're going to have to think of a completely different way. And the way we're going to do that is at the end of the animation we're going to change the explosion sprite to another object that's going to be invisible but show the score and enable you when you press space to restart the game. But we need to create that first, so I'm going to click OK and I'm going to go to resources, create object. I don't know why this is going long ways, it's being a bit silly. Ooh, it's too thin. I'm going to call this object underscore restart. We don't need any sprites at all, we don't need that. And we're going to add an event. Now we want to be able to draw in the details for the screen, so I'm going to go draw, this one, draw GUI, I think that's the on-screen interface. And first of all, we're going to go to draw, and I'm going to bring in, you probably might hear my dog having a bit of a scratch, there he is. We're going to set a colour, and because we're in space, and space is quite dark, I'm going to put it as white. So I'm going to set the colour, I'm going to set it to white. Okay? Okay. So we can see how that's set to colour, and put the colour to all these numbers, but basically white. So next what we're going to do, we're going to draw in the score. So we're going to click on the score, and draw the score. I'm going to set where it is. I think I'm going to set it 250 by 200. Let's see what that's like. I'm also going to draw in some text telling the player that when they press space they can then restart the game. So let's have a look. I think it's in draw. We've got this little A icon. I can draw text, and I'm going to tell the person to press space to restart. And its coordinates, I'm going to set this one x by 300. and y by, let's say 200. Oh, actually, y, let's do y 300 and this 1250. And click OK. And then we'll go, now to restart the game, we're going to add an event, key press, space, whenever it has to be the press, go to main 1, no, not main 1, main 2, yep, in game, click this icon which is the restart game, drag it in there, and there you go. Now we're going to reopen the flying object, and we're going to tell it to replace itself. When it hits the asteroid, instead of just restarting, it's going to play the explosion, and then, of course, the explosion would do the restart, etc., etc. So we're going to delete that, and what we're going to do, we're going to... Sorry, I'm just reading the book here, naughty me. We're going to create the instance, which is, go to main 1, create instance of the explosion. I'm going to click on relative, so relative to our position. And we're also going to destroy itself. So bring the destruction one, self. And that should be it. So I'm going to click OK, save. And we're going to test out, make sure this is all working. You may have to do a few tweaks in there, but hopefully the main part of it will work. So there we go. So flying, hitting moons. Now let's hit an asteroid. There we go. And yeah, score, space restart. I'm moving things around a little bit. And it restarts beautifully. And actually maybe, if you want to change things around, let's pull this up a bit. Like where the thing's positioned, I think I like the score to be a bit more to the left, so I'm going to change that to 200. And the text could be a lot to the left, so X 200 and maybe 250 there, so it's up a bit more. Let's have a look. It's always good to test things out, move them around, check them, double check them, etc. So, purpose is going to try and get to an asteroid. There we go. I could do a moving score a bit more to sense, maybe move that. We'll see, but the space in between them is much better. So I'm actually going to go into here and with the score a bit more. Maybe put that to 300 again. Always remember that X is left and right, Y is up and down. If you keep doing that, you can't go wrong. Could be a bit less. But then that's just me nitpicking, and I will do this. If you really care about things, it is worth going into yourself. 280. There. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to test it. I'm just going to... The main thing is, it works. I don't know why that's hovering there. So what we're going to do next, we're going to actually add some scores. So we're going to open up the special moon object. And what we are going to do, move this around a little bit. At game start, we've got music playing at the moment, and we're also going to set the score to 1000. So we're going to go over to the score tab, which is around here, and here the first one we've got is set score. Let's drag that in and set it to 1000. It sets a new score there. And it gives the player some points to work with, because if we stay on the moon, points are going to be deducted. And also what I'm going to do as well, I might create control objects that will create the score at the bottom. So I might do that in a moment. I'm just thinking of having a score near the bottom. That's quite a good idea. Near the top. I think near the top would be good. Yeah, sorry, I'm just playing with ideas here, because I have to make changes due to the fact that with this new Game Maker Studio, it doesn't really help sometimes. And what we're going to do, we're going to set some scores with the rocket landed. And we're going to go to the end step event, which we are on. And we're going to include a set score. Move this aside. Click on score. Set score. And this time what we are going to do, we are going to put -1. So whilst it's on the landed object, it's going to -1. And we're going to click relative. So it's going to keep ticking away and minusing 1 as we go along. So we are going to lose some points. And because it's going at 30 steps per second, that means we're going to lose 30 points every second that we are on the moon. Okay, so that's worth bearing in mind. Another thing we're going to do, we're going to go into the flying object. Just move this up a bit. And we need to look at the collision event with the moon. And I'm going to set a new score so that when this does collide with the moon, we're going to add 500 to our points, because yeah, we want points for every time the moons are gone. So it's in score, set score, 500, and make sure relative is ticked because it's going to add 500 to what we've got, not just set it at 500. So make sure it's 500 and relative is plussing it to 500. What I'm going to do as well, I'm going to have a sound, but I just realised my bonus sound is not included, so I'm going to add that in very quickly. Go to resources, create sound, and this one is going to be sound underscore bonus, load sound, bonus, open, got this one, and okay. So now, because I'm still, I didn't close this, it's still open. You can have multiple windows open and work on more than 2 things at once, but no, this works. So we've got to find sound. Here we go. On main 1 tab, sound, drag that in, and we can go to, let's see, bonus. So it lands on the moon, it's going to play a nice little sound. Okay. And what I'm going to do as well, which is a bit different, I'm going to add what's called a controller. Now, this is for the more advanced things, but because of the way Game Maker Studio has got rid of some of the options, it's something I'm going to have to bring in a bit sooner as a personal touch of mine. I'm going to add another object that's going to be invisible. And go resources, create object, and make this small again. Don't know why it goes so big there. That's getting annoying. Object underscore controller. No sprites, and we're going to add event, draw GUI, and we are going to, where are we? Draw. Well, first we're going to set the color, so make sure you're in the draw tab here. I'm going to set the color to white. You could set to red or yellow, but I'm going to set to white. And we're going to draw the score. So score, make sure the score tab, and it's the one with the green border around it, the third one. You can hover over it to make sure you got the draw score. And actually, did I set this at the bottom? Yeah, so if X is left and right, I'm okay with that, 0. Y is up and down, I think it's 480. So if I set this to 450, it should be at the bottom. And another thing I'm going to do as well, I'm going to open up the room. I'm going to just make sure we've got the controller selected. So, yep, object controller, in the top corner, I'm just going to plonk it there. It's got a little question mark there saying, hang on, I've got no object attached to me. Well, that's absolutely fine because I don't want anyone to see you. So, click OK. And I just realised we've got a score at the bottom here somewhere in our game, just visualising it. But another problem is that it's going to show double on the board. So what I'm going to do on object restart is add event. When it's created, it's going to delete So I'm just going into, just cancel that just so you can see, and delete that. So I'm just jumping ahead of myself. I'm going into the main one tab here, going on to destroy instance, object, controller. So it just destroys the controller here. Okay. Right, let's give this a whirl. So remember to save. Go. Okay. Oh, and look, there's a score at the bottom, and we're losing points. Oh dear. So go off here. Yeah, it's playing SAS. Oh. It's not destroying the world at the bottom there. Okay. Let's try doing it. Let's double open up explosion, and on create, I'm going to tell it to destroy in main one tab here. Destroy the controller. Object. Controller. Let's see. Okay. And I'm going to go to restart and just delete this create here because we don't need that. So let's see if that will do the trick. You know, sometimes, especially when I have to make little adaptations from the tutorial just to make sure the basics work in Game Maker Studio, that I may get things a bit wrong. So, got sound. Yay, it's working. Excellent. Could do move the score a bit more to the side. Or actually move that a bit forward. I'm going to do that quickly. Again, me being nitpicky again, so that's... no, that's the wrong thing. I was going to control there. Sorry. Let's restart. And it's text, and... what is it? Twice, fine, 200, let's call this... oop. That should be fine. Again, you're not going to see me being nitpicky there. Right, so that's the basic of that. Now the next thing we're going to do, which is, again, going a step further, we are actually going to create a leveling system. Yeah, we're going to create a level system. So this is going to get, again, going that step ahead. So what we're going to do, first of all, if we're going to create levels, we need different rooms. So I'm going to right click on room 0, duplicate it, leave it as room 1 for now, because I'm being a bit lazy. And what we're going to do, with this duplicate room, I'm going to add some more objects. I'm going to go over here. I might move you over there, you're going to put over there. You know, this is a new room, let's make it more challenging. So I actually could put more asteroids in. It could really mean drop down, asteroid, put one there, maybe one over here, one over there, and gonna pop in a couple of normal moons. So pop in a moon object, maybe one there, and actually a few more asteroids. Really gonna make this a really mean level. So asteroid there, asteroid here. Asteroid there. Oop, not there. View. So there's a lot of asteroids in this level. It's going to be a nasty level. So there we go. Now, if we want to be able to jump to this next room, we're going to have to do a few settings.